Hello everyone, today we are continuing with the 7 habits of highly effective people. We are going to be covering habit number 2, which is begin with the end in mind. So I'm going to give you 7 different ways that you can apply this. I'm going to try to keep this video short. So I'm going to give you 7 different ways that you can apply begin with the end in mind in your life. So first, let's talk about what it is to begin with the end in mind. To begin with the end in mind is to think about what it is, truly, what it is that you want from life. What do you want to achieve? Who do you want to become? What do you want to do? What do you want to have? Also, what are you willing to sacrifice to get there? Each day, you should take a step, at least a step, or many steps towards getting to that goal. So, begin with the end in mind is having that clear vision in your mind first of what it is that you want. Once you have that vision, then you can start taking steps towards getting to that goal and making that dream a reality. So let's start with number 1. Number 1 is live by design and not by default. That means that you design your future. Life doesn't just happen to you. Things don't happen just because you hope for it. You have to design that. So living by design, meaning that you are designing that future for yourself. Number 2 is exercising personal leadership. I know that leadership, we talk about it many times as people following you, but leadership actually means that you choose what is important. A leader always chooses what is important. A manager chooses how to execute, how to do things right. So I want you to be a leader. First, you got to be a leader before you can manage things. Before you can see how to do things well, you have to make sure you make the decision of what it is that is important. They say before you climb the ladder of success, make sure that it is leaning against the right wall. What that means is, first you got to choose what is the best thing for you. And once you know what is best for you, then you can start working towards achieving that. Number 3 is re-script yourself. As an actor that goes in to play a movie in a role, they're given a script that tells them what the person is supposed to say, how the person is supposed to behave in the movie. For ourselves too, I think we are given a script in life. Many times that script is handed down by our parents, by our teachers, by society. They tell us what they're expecting from us. Let's say if you're in a family that everybody is a doctor or a lawyer, or they go into the military, many times you are also expected to follow that or to take over the family business. Many times those scripts are okay with you, they're okay with me maybe, or maybe they're not. And you have to know that you have the power to change that script, that you have the power to reinvent yourself. Find, I can do something else. I can take my life in a different direction. So number 3 is re-script yourself. Number 4 is to identify your center. As individuals, many times we center our life around people. Let's say my children, your parents, friends, so we can have a life that is centered around people. Other people have a center that is around their job, activities. Let's say it could be martial arts, it could be my career as an engineer, or whatever it is. Find out in your life, what are those things that you believe are very important, that are what we would call your center. Now, once you find what those things are, it is very helpful to recenter your life instead of around people or around activities, to recenter it around principles. Principles are values that never change. Honesty, positivity, hard work, etc., etc. So the problem with having a center life around people or activities is that many times those things change. Let's say if I had my life center around my children, what happens when they grow up, get married, and they leave the house? Then my life would be empty. Or if I center my life around my job and let's say that my company goes out of business or I am laid off, and I don't have that job anymore, I lose something that is very important in my life. So begin with the end in mind. It's important to know that it is much better to have a life that is centered around principles rather than around people or activities. Number five. Number five is to use the power of visualization, to use the power of your imagination to know, to imagine with as much as detail as possible what you want from your life. Humans are the only creature that has that power of imagination, that we can actually visualize and see in the eye of our mind a future that hasn't happened or an activity that hasn't happened. Imagine if you are playing a sport and you imagine winning or doing a great job, or if you are having a conversation with somebody very important to you and you imagine that conversation going really well. What are the questions they're going to ask you? How are you going to respond? Or even a negative experience where you know that somebody always gets on your nerves and they say things that bother you, and maybe they do it on purpose, maybe they don't, but what they say bothers you. You can use that power of visualization, of imagination, to get into the situation and then think about what is the best way to respond. And when it happens, since you already experienced it, you already know what is the best way to respond. So number five is use the power of visualization. Number six, once you have chosen principles, those values that guide your life, never compromise them. What I mean is, if you have something that you hold dear to you, let's say one of your principles is being positive, never allow yourself to become negative, not even for a second. If that's one of your values, that's one of your principles, make sure that you never compromise on that value. Many people that end up unhappy, broke, in jail even, or worse, is because they made small decisions that went against their principles, and then they found themselves in a situation that they never thought they would. So number six is, once you have your principles, never compromise them. Number seven, finally, is to create a personal mission statement. A personal mission statement is like your personal constitution. It is the thing that will guide your life. What are the things that will never change for you? Have clear values. What are those things that you hold dear to you? And for us, I'm going to give you an exercise. I'm going to list a lot of principles, a lot of values, and I want you to just choose three. Choose three of those principles, and based on that, create a personal mission statement. You can choose more, but to start, I would just go with three. Look at the list, take a look at all those principles, and from there, create a personal constitution. What it is that you hold dear to yourself in your life, and those things that will never compromise. So let's go ahead and recap. Number one, live by design and not by default. Number two, have personal leadership. Number three, you have the power to re-script yourself. Number four, identify your center and make sure that your centers are based on principle and not people or activities. Number five, use the power of visualization. Number six, never compromise your principles. And number seven, create a personal mission statement. I hope you find this useful. I will have a link in the description of the video that will take you to a form that you can fill out, that you can create your personal mission statement, and I look forward to reading it. Have a great day.